Good evening.
Hi, Mark. Sorry, we didn't start yet, so I had our meeting room turned off until then, but we're 5 minutes out.
That's fine. No problem at all.
Thank you.
Hello, Brian Barrett signing in.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, everyone. How's the weather out there?
Sunny, about 70 degrees. I wouldn't come down your hill if I were you until about noon tomorrow.
Hey, hallelujah. Amen. Amen, Robert.
Just imagine those times, though, when the entire board lived on Moses Knob.
That's so true, Jacob. Oh my God.
Okay, Lee had his big truck.
And we didn't get loud either. That was.
Tim has told me stories about his school bus going over there, over Moses
Oh
Knob.
gosh, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
He said very seldom was there a school day. And can you imagine a school bus up and over that hill?
Oh, no, I cannot. But I saw our roadmaster come up plowing not too long ago, so I guess he's got everything in order for the most part. Okay, I'm here.
Tomorrow we'll talk about. I'd use one of those agreements that has to be carried. Yeah. Just to clean it out. It sounds labored.
To make this the amendment, so it gets capital letters.
We ended up not needing the new bulb in the projector yet.
You know, I think that makes sense. We go that
So
direction.
I had Sundance in today, and they said the adapter we were using had died.
Look at the one that you've done to your
Yeah. We're also using a new one now to have a wired connection, so hopefully we won't have any issues with the streaming
These
tonight.
guys don't agree with what we're talking about, with the work, the operation, maintenance, or whatever. Yep, fine with that. But I may do time to get it done today, because I know that you guys were waiting patiently, and I want to get it done for tonight. I appreciate it. 18:59.
Yeah, I feel like every time I look back, it's 7 o'clock. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our guest. This is the 7 o'clock regular business meeting of the Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, to which one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
Thank you. So, our first two items on the agenda are the approval of our January 4th, 2021 reorganizational meeting and regular meeting minutes following the reorg meeting. Julia Heilica, our office manager, had prepared them. I don't know if my colleagues have had the chance to take a look at them.
Yes, I have.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we approve both?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do we have any public comments here on the agenda specifically, what's included, what's not included? Okay.
I have a new business item that I'll bring up at the end.
Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to the public hearings. Tonight we have 1836 Saloon, Inc., the conditional use for use in the floodplain. I'd like to turn it over to our solicitor, Ron Karasak, for the opening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and this is a public hearing on a conditional use application that was filed on behalf or by Philip Natosi and the 1836 Saloon Common Inc., where he has requested that the township approve a porch under cover next to his restaurant in order to assist him during the times of COVID. Because this project lies within a floodplain, the floodplain ordinance of the township requires that any such development of any type within the floodplain must be reviewed and approved by the Township Board of Supervisors as a conditional use. And consequently, that is the purpose of the hearing this evening. Is anyone here on behalf of the applicant? All right, and you are, sir? Philip Natosi. Philip Natosi, you're, I'll say junior, but you may not be junior. Correct. But you are here on behalf of the applicant, Philip Natosi? Yeah, I'm the owner. Okay, you are the owner? Yes. Okay, well, there we go. So we have the owner here. I don't see anyone here in the meeting room other than an engineer for another applicant. Is there anyone on Zoom that is attending the meeting and would wish to be either a public commentator and or a party to these proceedings? All right, hearing no response, we will assume that there is no one out there that wants to be either a public commentator or a party, so that I'm going to go through the usual introductory comments that would be necessary to explain how a public commentator is different than a party and how a conditional use proceeding is different than a special exception use proceeding, which is a matter heard by the zoning hearing board. Suffice it to say that conditional use basically is a use that is generally approved by the township with certain conditions, and that is the purpose of the hearing, is to hear exactly what the applicant wants to do, and then the township can make a decision with respect to the matter. So, that being said, I don't have anything further by way of the brief introductory remarks in this matter, and I'll turn it back over to the chair to have him proceed to have witness call. But I do want to do, hold on, one housekeeping thing, which I forgot as we were talking here. and that is introduced into evidence already been marked, I don't have to move. The three board exhibits. Board exhibit number 1 is the notice of the public hearing that was placed in the Pocono Record. Board exhibit number 2 is the affidavit of posting that was signed by our zoning officer, indicating that he posted the property on January 19, 2021. And board exhibit number 3 are a copy of the newspaper ads that were in the Pocono Record on January 15 and January 18, advertising notice of this hearing. So I would ask that these be made part of the record. Mr. Smithfield, do you have any objection to these housekeeping items?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Then they are made part of the record, and now we can go back to the chair and have him proceed.
Mr. Tosi, do you mind taking this seat here? It's closer to the microphone for our other supervisor and anyone interested.
The one in the front?
Yes, please. Very good. Thank you. I understand your project, your conditional use application was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission without conditions. We received this letter from our zoning officer today. I don't know if this needs to be included, Ron, as part of the...
This is part of the, okay, yeah, I guess we should make this part of the record. This is a letter from the zoning officer with respect to parking issues, et cetera. And we can make this part of, the record here. Let me mark that as board exhibit number 4. And then we can have Mr. Tosi explain the project so that anyone who may be listening in can understand what's going on.
And, Ron, we also have a packet from the Conservation District to include also.
All right, you're gonna make that part of the record also?
Yes, please. You hand that over to Julia to get it done. Thank you.
Got that, that's for board exhibit 6?
5.
Or 5, okay. All right, so. All right, because before you describe the project, I've got 4 other exhibits here, 2 other exhibits. One is a letter from the zoning officer with respect to off-street parking, and one is from the Monroe County Conservation District regarding various maps for the floodplain area. Do you have any objections to these items?
No, sir.
Okay, so, all right, that being said, it's not meant to steal the chair's thunder because the chair can proceed in whatever fashion he deems appropriate, but I would like you to explain to the board and to any members of the public who are listening what exactly is your project. First, where it's located, the address and some background information, and then what you intend to do.
The location is 2605 Milford Road at the 1836 Saloon. We didn't have any covered outside dining when the pandemic hit, so we tried to quickly get moving on a project that we would be allowed to be able to stay open for business. And when we found out that we needed to put some paperwork in from the zoning department, we tried to do that as quickly as possible. And didn't realize, that they were going to stop us from doing business, but they did, and then they closed us down. And when I found out that I had to put in some paperwork and pay $1,500 to get in front of the board, I did that as quickly as I could. I hired KTE engineering for a couple $1,000 and had what I thought they were looking for us to do to continue to get back open. And then I got the check back. I'm not sure what happened. They didn't get to get my paperwork in time, or whatever. There was some document problems. So I resubmitted the $1,500, resubmitted the form, came in front of the board, and kind of explained to them that, you know, we need to get some outside dining so we could stay open. At that time, we were closed totally because we had nowhere for anyone to sit or to keep them at the time, to keep them warm as well. So, that's what we were looking to do. What we did was, we followed the front, we have a front porch. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the place, but we do have a front porch. And we just continued that front porch around to the side, so we'd be able to have enough seating that would, make sense to open. We could have put some tables on the front porch, but probably only would have got maybe, 8, 10 people, with the social distancing, so that's why we continued around the back. Around to the side, I mean. Pretty much on the footprint of it, attached to the building, we built a canopy type building. At the time, it was just framed, there was no roof on it, because we got stopped. Then, we finished the roof after the meeting. I was here a couple months ago, just to get the, to close it up so we can close it. We tarped the walls and opened once the governor lifted that, we opened up the front, and now we have 50% dining inside, and now we continue to have a small area outside to continue to be able to get more people in. So that's pretty much where we are right now.
Mr. DeSouza, I have in front of me here a document that's entitled Building Alteration Sketch Plan, Philip DeSouza / 1836 Saloon, located at 2605 Milford Road, prepared by Keystone Consulting Engineers. Is this the plan to which you refer in this matter?
Yes, sir.
All right, and do you want to make this plan the applicant's exhibit?
Yes.
A or number 1, what are we doing?
Applicant's one.
Applicant's 1. And if you just bring this over to the supervisors and show them where exactly is the porch that you're talking about.
So, everybody can see here, this is the,
Put it in front of them, like turn it so they just in front of them the right way.
this is a 209.
All right, so put 209 towards them.
209 towards here.
All right, now you can.
Right, 209 is here, 402, I believe, is up this way, and, the creek runs back here.
This is the patio.
This is the patio. So we just took the covered porch and we extended it around to the side. And that's really it. So we made this a continuation of the front porch with the railings and whatnot. This is, again, it's all the same elevation. We're not down on the ground. Well, it's pretty much the same height all the way around, the same, elevation, I guess, from the inside to the outside. There's a ramp that was originally up here for handicap access. There's a couple steps there, and that's pretty much it. So we have like a 12-foot roof here, I believe it is. Maybe it's a little bit more than 12.6 maybe it might be. That's it. That's it. We should.
Yeah, if you don't mind, you could, show that part to the camera so Supervisor Barrett can see also.
If you can point to where the porch part is, if it shows, Mr. DeSouza, it might be
The porch is right here, the front porch, this is 209. And the front porch continues to the side porch here. I don't know if you can see it with the glare. Oh, that might be a little better.
Yeah, that's okay. This is higher contrast anyway for the projectors, so
Okay.
that should be more than enough for anyone watching. Thank you.
All right. And, how is the, area secured? By that I mean, this is, an issue with respect to the floodplain. Can this porch lift up and go downstream and do
No.
damage to downstream property owners or downstream properties?
you know, it's poured cement with, proper elements of a pour, you know, any kind of slab. It's got the loose rock, it's got the net fencing, and it's,
And it's the same level as the rest of the, building?
correct.
Okay. And does this, porch give you additional seating that would require additional off-street parking, or is this in lieu of inside seating where your outside parking would not change?
Correct.
Outside off-street parking would not change.
Correct. So we had, guessing a little bit here, we don't have as many tables, the 6-foot distancing, but we have the tables from the inside, we just moved them outside, so it's the same amount of seats, no more seats, just different locations, so they're spread out more.
I would put on the record that that may not have been a voluntary movement of tables and of service. It was mandated by the governor that there could be no inside service. So in order to stay in business, any restaurant or public facility would have to have something outside.
And
Brian Barrett, I have a question. This hopefully COVID-19 thing is eventually going to come to an end. What will your plans be then? Will you, especially in regard to parking, because you'll be able to go back to 100% occupancy in the restaurant and still have the outdoor seating in a facility. What are your plans for that?
We have, going before the pandemic even started, when we wanted to add additional seats to the inside. We have some property in the rear that we were going to try to look into, and KT is actually working on that for us, to create some more parking in the rear. And we also just came in contact with our neighbor across the street with the mini mall, and they have like it's 15 to 20 parking spots that face us, and that they were having problems with people parking there, I guess. And I didn't really know that at all, but
when you say across the street, are you saying in the lot for the old Weiss Market lot?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
And you have an agreement with the owners of that?
No, we don't have an agreement yet, but we've sent out the first email and asked them if they'd be interested in leasing us some more spots if we need them. I mean, I'm not even sure KC is looking into that. I guess it's
okay. Yeah. So be careful there, because the Insulaco family is aware of their requirements for parking, and they actually have lost some of their parking availability in spaces, and so as they proceed with whatever they want to do, you guys really should be in touch, and I would suggest that you use our zoning officer to work together with you, because you might find yourself in a position where the Insulaco family is not going to be able to provide those because they're going to need them for themselves. Just a heads up.
Like I said, it was just an introductory email, because they had just sent us an email, an email and a certified letter within the last, I'd say, 2 weeks, saying that, please, put something up in your establishment to let people know they can't park across the way.
Okay.
I mean, we really don't park there too often. I don't think, anyway. Again, I'm not there 24/7, but we do have area in the rear to create some more parking. And again, that's all got to be worked out as well.
That lot across 402, is there any possibility of that on the other, across the intersection there?
Well, we have spots on the front, right? I think we have 6 spots there. We have spots across 402.
That's yours too.
That's mine as well. And again, I'm not saying I don't know the answer, but I'm not sure how many spots we need per customer, because during this pandemic, we've actually lessened our table.
Right.
Now, we have 2 pool tables, so to say, instead we used to have only 1. So that takes away some spaces for tables as well. So I'm not sure where we're going, in that direction, but we are aware of it.
Right.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Natopi. If, as Supervisor Barrett indicates, the COVID-19 ends, and you're able to increase your seating, would you be agreeable to a condition of this use that's being considered this evening, that before you would increase seating, you would check with the zoning officer of the township to determine off-street parking requirements?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great, because that speaks directly to the letter that Mr. Wolf wrote, this afternoon in, regard to that, because eventually we will come out of the pandemic.
Hopefully sooner than later.
I certainly hope so. And he also spoke to the fact that, this may require a reevaluation of the EDUs from the sewer authority.
Yeah,
So,
we, again, just so you can clarify a couple things,
sure.
I just became the full owner. My father owned it, he gifted me half of it, I bought him out,
Mm-hmm.
and I own everything, so a lot of the stuff that we're speaking of, I'm kind of learning about as we go.
Sure.
My father's got a relationship with Kenny, I don't know Ken that well,
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to him on the phone a couple times,
Sure.
and he mentioned a couple of the things that you mentioned to me, and I'm like, well, yeah, whatever we need to do. And I tried to be upfront with everyone, saying that whatever needed to be done to, to stay above board, I'm all for.
Excellent.
I was at the planning commission meeting, as was Ron, and the reason it was approved by the planning commission, unanimously, was both the feeling that, since this is a historic building and has been used for a long time, probably before there were FEMA rules and before there may have been zoning here, that, we should, bend over backwards to try to, allow it to continue, even though, we have problems with it being in a floodplain, and, some of this work was started before there was a permit. I mean, the spring it was extraordinary times, as it is still now, but, I think the feeling was that, we didn't want to stand in the way of this business, and that, if there was a conditional use necessary, it was really going through the motions, because, of course, it is in a floodplain, and we have to do this. But, the feeling was that, we should support this business. Am I right, Ron?
Yes, and also the project is relatively minimal in the whole scheme of things.
Right.
They're installing an outside porch with a cover.
Right.
So they can make up for the indoor seating which they have lost. So it's not some tremendous change of building footprint. It's not something that's going to dramatically increase the floodplain flow, and I believe that was, those reasons in addition. And let me just ask you again, you heard about the letter from the sewer, zoning officer also talked about checking with the sewer authority when additional seating would become available for additional EDUs. And again, you would be willing to make that a condition of any decision that the board makes here this evening with your project?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then the only one that I would suggest as a third is when I spoke with Ken, because I asked him today to write this letter in lieu of his attendance, given weather and everything. He specified that he would like some sort of condition, given that the applicant would comply with applicable Department of Environmental Protection regulations, because those require permitting there. Because I am unsure if he faxed it to you specifically. Yeah, you have that. No, I don't have it. You might have it.
I did not receive it either.
Right. This was it's placed on everybody's desk this morning. When I came in, I saw it. So it was from Ken in regard to the FEMA wave map. Suggests that the property is a habitat for naturally reproducing trout. So,
What does that have to do with anything? Naturally reproducing.
No, I understand, but there are regulations, and we have the information for you to be in touch with the Conservation District and Department of Environmental Protection to ensure that, because, beyond us, that's where the only other permitting would be required.
So that can be a condition that, again, that any DEP or similar regulations are, or the applicant checks into those regulations for purposes of the project, if that's what you want to do.
Right.
Your call. Helpful if the zoning officer gives us information a little bit earlier than 2 hours before the hearing, so we can all chew on it a bit, but it is what it is.
May I ask, was the Bernal County Conservation District, did they submit anything?
Yes, this was from Alexandra Dutt at the Monroe County Conservation District.
Brian, they submitted basically maps.
Right.
They really did not get into great detail with respect to whether the project is good, bad, or indifferent. There's maps, there's various projections, there's various, numbers and distances. Again, this would all be something that would be engineering fodder. I can't tell you as to what it would be, but again, if in fact, the applicant's willing to review any applicable DEP or other regulations as part of this project, that will cover those issues in some way or another.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Natozzi before we proceed to closing the hearing itself? Okay, hearing none, I move that we close the public hearing at 7:26.
I second that.
Seconded by Robert Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, can I make a motion to,
I'll entertain a motion.
to grant the conditional use?
Without any conditions?
I think if you want to put conditions on a run, that's fine, but I have no conditions.
Well, I would say, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Yes, yeah, definitely. There are some conditions, Robert, that really should be considered. As this progresses and everything goes on, I'm thinking of the applicant's position. This might just flow out of control, and there'll be things that just he won't be able to satisfy. And I want to make sure that what we do now is close this meeting with that, and he has a full understanding of what is expected of him, not only by us but other agencies, DEP, EPA, Monroe County Conservation District, and of course our own floodplain management. And as you know, we're obligated to operate under that, and that wasn't necessarily, that was a state mandate that put us in that position with floodplain. So all I'm saying is that I think there should be some conditions, and Ron, I think you kind of paraphrased them early on, and that would be to me to be aware of what happens, what parking would be. Yeah, what parking would be available when we do leave this COVID-19 monster, and how he will be able to meet them when he goes to full capacity, and now including the outdoor eating premises. The EPA, I guess they're talking about some things there that they're going to probably look at. So I say that in the conditions themselves, if we do this properly, it helps the applicant more than anyone else.
All right, well, right now you have a motion on the floor. If it does not get a second, the motion dies, and someone else can make a motion to add conditions if that's what he wants to do.
Right.
Well, that would be me. I'd like to make a motion with the conditions, and I would refer to you, Ron, to reiterate the conditions that you had mentioned earlier.
Are we going to assume there was not a second to?
Well, I said that I would amend that motion if somebody else had something to put on it.
Right. So
the conditions that I've noted here, Brian, are that when COVID-19 ends and seating increases, that the applicant will come before the township to address any off-street parking issues. Ditto
right.
with respect to when that time would come, the applicant would check with the sewer authority as to the number of equivalent dwelling units or EDUs as would be needed. And finally, with respect to the instant project, the applicant will check the applicable DEP and/or FEMA regulations to make certain that they are in compliance with those laws.
Okay, I guess they reference, I don't know, you said a trout stream, or I don't know what that means. But we're talking EPA, DEP, Conservation District, so.
All right,
so
on
that
the menu, don't have to worry.
Okay, all right. So will Mr. Levenheim amend his motion to include that, and will Mr. Barrett second that motion?
Yes. With those conditions. Jacob, with those conditions.
Yeah. Okay. So Robert's motion is on the floor. There's a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Robert, I'm sorry, did you vote in favor, or how did you vote?
I voted aye.
Okay. Well, the motion carries in that case.
All right, Mr. Natozzi, so the way it works now is I have 45 days to write a written opinion with respect to this matter. You don't necessarily need to wait for that written opinion, but obviously, in theory, I could file that opinion and then some resident or some disgruntled person could file an appeal, and now whatever you may have done would be at your own risk, but be that as it may, that's how it will work. I'll do my best to get it done, but I would not bank on it being any earlier than 45 days based upon the other things on my plate right now.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you very much for attending tonight, Mr.
Thank you
Natozzi.
for your time, appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
Absolutely. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, now, before we proceed further, we've got to check to see if you're good. If
Thank
we
you.
need Donna any further, if not, we can cut her loose.
I do not believe we have any other public hearings on tonight's agenda. So with that, thank you very much, Donna.
Okay, thank you.
Take care, Donna.
Thank you.
Yes, we will see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 4 o'clock. What happened to applicant exhibit 1?
I have it here, do we mark it?
No.
All right, well, let's mark it up, put a little sticky on it.
There you go.
Okay.
Should we move on to anything concerning Gateway, like ease,
Well,
they can get out?
I'm going to follow the order on tonight's agenda, and I think Doug and Jim will appreciate that. So we'll get to them in just a couple of moments. So next, I'd like to move to the preliminary and final minor subdivision plot lands for Stanislav V. and Julia Manowski. Our engineer, John Trusser, was gracious enough to pop on here for a couple of moments to discuss that and the lot consolidation plan with SR Squared. John, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Jacob. Do you want me to address these two?
Yes, please.
Okay. The Manowski. I'm sorry.
This is Ron, John. Have you had a time to look at these things?
We just got them in. I quickly today looked at Manowski, and the applicant's engineer had resubmitted plans, but he still has not addressed our comments, or at least all of them. There's still several that remain unaddressed, as to why, I'm not sure. They were fairly easy and straightforward, and I thought he would have addressed them, but he has not. The project is not that complicated. I think you have two choices. You can table it until we get them addressed, or if you want to get it off your agenda, you could approve it with the condition that it addresses all the comments in my letter. I think you could go either way, but it's not ready for final approval without conditions or ready for recording yet.
This is Ron, John. The reason it was put on tonight was because there was an issue with a potential time limit to take official action, that it was going to expire by tonight or the next day, tomorrow, if in fact an extension was not provided. We have since received an extension in this matter through today, January 26th. However, they have filed a new plan dated January 14th. So that means the 90 days runs again.
Right.
So I haven't counted the days in the calendar, but we have February, March, April. We're good to this now to the middle of April. So if you believe that you would like to look at this one more time before the supervisors put this on their agenda for a vote, and if the supervisors agree, there is now time. We don't have that time limit issue any longer.
Yeah, I don't think I have to look at it. I just finished looking at it, their January 14th submission. I've got a letter written, and I think it would be prudent, since we have the time, to have the applicant's engineer address these comments correctly and get it back to us.
What comments do you have outstanding, John?
I don't have my draft letter in front of me, Brian, but there was a couple calculations regarding the net area, as I recall.
That was added to the plan. That's on the plan.
I did not look at it personally. That's what my staff person told me. Do you believe that you've addressed every comment? Like I said, they weren't that difficult, Brian.
Right.
Do you believe you addressed every comment?
Yeah, I believe I did, and I wrote a letter to that effect.
I did not see the letter. I apologize for that. I only saw our draft letter in response. If you're telling me that you've addressed every comment, since they were not difficult comments, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't have, which is what puzzled me, I would then recommend that the board grant approval, subject to me confirming that all the comments have been adequately addressed. And if I can confirm that, I will write a letter saying they've been addressed and that record plans can be presented for signature.
John, this is Ron again. When you say that the comments have been addressed, are we talking about your engineer review letter? I believe it was December 7th?
Yes.
Is that the one? So you're saying that the condition would be that if all of the conditions outlined in your letter of December 7, 2020 have been met, then the plan should be given final approval?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, because I have in front of me a conditional approval form. And let me just go through the other items. I know this is not a very involved project, but I want to make certain that there's no other conditions we need to address. So here we go. I got planning module approval or exemption.
Not
yes
needed.
Or no?
Not needed.
All right, certification from Smithfield Township Sewer Authority or other authority regarding hookup and available capacity.
Not needed.
Certification from Broadhead Creek Regional or other authority regarding ability to hook up and available capacity.
Not needed.
Monroe County Planning Commission review, and that has come in.
I believe
have
so.
it dated September 16th, so that has been met. Do we need any Monroe County Conservation District review?
No.
Any soil erosion sedimentation plan or other type of drainage plan?
No.
PennDOT highway permit or township driveway permit?
No.
Or any other permits like NPDES?
No.
All right, we have compliance with the conditions set forth in your letter of, and we'll date that December 7th, okay? Do we need a unification or merger deed in this matter?
No.
Is there a grant of easement for a right-of-way along any road or other street or byway?
Brian, that isn't a grant. There's an existing easement. Am I correct?
Yes.
But it's not being granted to anybody. It's just existing.
Yep.
Okay, so, no, we don't need that.
Are we doing an improvements agreement with Performance Security?
Did you set the final corners, Brian?
Yes.
I don't see that. We have that on here, John.
Okay. That would be the only thing.
All right, so we would have the monuments, pins, and markers to be set in the field and certified in writing by the applicant's engineer, okay? We have any park recreation or open space fees in this matter?
No.
Okay. And there have been no saldo waivers granted in this case?
There was
I
one.
don't recall.
There was one. It would be for comment number 9. John's comment number 9. And there
That's
should be
for
a
the
little-
title. Okay, well, we would probably need to have the supervisors act on that, which we'll do in a moment, but that's,
Yeah.
all right. And then obviously, John, I have the form here that says plan to be signed and plan to be notarized.
Correct.
All right, so then I'll complete this form and I'll send it along to Mr. Courtwright for his review and signature. Let's talk a moment for the saldo waiver. The saldo requires that a title report is submitted verifying any deed restrictions and other restrictions affecting the property. The Planning Commission recommended a waiver of this requirement. I don't remember why. John, do you have a recollection as to why they would recommend a waiver of that?
Well, we often recommend a waiver if there's not extensive development being proposed. And Brian did show the easements of record on the plan, which is what we're sometimes looking for in a title report. So because of those 2 items, we didn't think it was necessary.
All right, so before we act on the plan itself, the board would have to entertain a motion to grant the saldo waiver where a title report need not be submitted for the project.
So moved. Do I hear a second?
Yes, second.
Seconded by Robert Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so that being said, then what I have here in front of me is the condition form that would say that there needs to be, the conditions for approval would be compliance with all conditions set forth in the Township Engineer Review Letter of December 7, 2020. Monuments, pins, and markers to be set in the field and certified in writing by the applicant's engineer. The saldo waiver to be noted on the plan to be signed, and the plan to be notarized. So if in fact the applicant is willing to agree to those conditions, we'll ask Mr. Courtwright that. The board can then act on the plan. So, Mr. Courtwright, if you could hear me, and if not, I'll repeat myself.
No, I heard you.
Did you hear those conditions?
Yes, I did, and they accept those conditions.
And your client through you is willing to accept those conditions, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so that being said, unless the board wants to entertain any further discussion or comment, the board can consider conditional, preliminary, and final plan approval of this plan based upon those conditions.
Okay, so moved, in accordance with those conditions, and, well, that already includes, John's review letter of December 7th.
Yes, that would be the 5 conditions that I've just indicated to you before.
All right, so moved.
And there'll be a written agreement form that I'll send to Mr. Courtwright to sign off on, because he'll also have to sign off on the one saldo waiver form.
Right. Is there a second?
Second here.
Okay, seconded by both my colleagues. All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Brian,
Yes.
I will double check that, and I apologize if we got it wrong, but we'll get it straightened out.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the preliminary and final minor subdivision and lot consolidation plan lands of SR Squared LLC.
Now, in this regard, this plan was reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they recommended a conditional preliminary plan approval, which has in fact been signed, and I'll go over those conditions with you, but before that, there are 4 saldo waivers that need to be addressed. So that being said, let's go through those waivers. They're not that involved. First waiver is section 803.Y, like in Yodel, that locations of wells, on-site septic systems, stormwater management facilities, and similar features within 200 feet of any part of the land to be subdivided or developed must be shown on the plan. Planning Commission unanimously voted to recommend approval of that waiver because the property is intended to be served by central sewer provided by the Smithfield Township Sewer Authority, and central water is also available, so there's not going to be an issue with respect to isolation distances. So that being said, that's the first waiver for consideration by the board.
Ron, do you recommend that we act on it now, one at each one separately, or
I think
wait,
just, let's do them separately so the record is clear and it doesn't get too overflowing, because the third and fourth waivers, they've recommended a condition to them. So I would just do them one at a time with your permission and the board's permission.
Okay.
Then I would recommend that we grant that waiver. I'm aware that the sewer line has already passed it, so it's in the ground and ready to go. And the owners of this property are in the process of getting their permits and hooking up. So that's a big improvement to this entire area, that lot. So I definitely make that. I make that motion that we approve that waiver.
Second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the second waiver is section 803.Z, like in zebra 4. That wetland delineations must be showed on the plan. Planning Commission is recommending waiver as no development is currently proposed, so a delineation is not necessary, and further, as an added protection, a note has been added to the plan that when, in fact, construction takes place on lot number 3, a wetlands delineation will then be secured.
Do I hear a motion on that waiver?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, the third salvo waiver is section 803.H, like in Harry. The location, size, and ownership of all underground utilities and rights-of-way or easements within the property shall be shown. There is on the plan a road or street or byway known as Springhouse Lane, and the township engineer has requested meets and bounds of Springhouse Lane. Since that has been a long-time existing lane, the Township Planning Commission is recommending that that waiver be granted on condition that the applicant does depict the center line of Springhouse Lane by way of meets and bounds.
I'm sorry, Ron, by way of what?
Meets and bounds, bearing
Got
or
it.
distances, whichever way you want to say it.
Yep, okay.
Do I hear a motion on that waiver?
Take the motion.
Made by Mr. Levenheim. Is there a second?
Yep, second.
Seconded by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, the final salvo waiver is section 803.G and section 1025.A, where the location of all existing and proposed monuments are to be shown, and the monuments are to be placed at each change of direction and boundary, 2 to be placed at each street intersection, 1 on the side of each street at angle points and at the beginning and end of curves. Planning Commission is recommending that saldo waiver be granted due to the many angle changes of Milford Road right-of-way, but on condition that there be at least 2 monuments set along Airport Road.
Do I hear a motion on that waiver?
I'll make that motion.
Made by Mr. Levenheim. Is there a second?
Brian?
I'll second the motion.
Oh,
All
I'm
in
sorry.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And with the planning commission's recommendation?
Yes. Yes, okay. And motion carries.
Okay, so without the waivers granted, you can then act upon the plan if you wish. The agreement for conditional plan approval was signed by the applicant's representative, and the conditions are pretty much similar to exactly what was just done in Minoski. The first condition is compliance with all conditions set forth in the Township Engineer Review Letter of January 13, 2021. That the saldo waivers be noted on the plan, that the monuments, pins, and markers are to be set in the field and certified in writing by the applicant's engineer, the plan to be signed, and the plan to be notarized. So if those conditions are acceptable to the board, as they have already been acceptable to the applicant, the board can then take action to grant the plan conditional, preliminary, and final plan approval.
So moved. Do I hear a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Take those 2 matters off your agenda.
Okay, and now, I'd like to just say this for our friends at Gateway. We're gonna be getting along quicker. We have a couple of items that aren't necessarily long, but they're plentiful. The first of which is resolution number 462, affirming appointments to the Smithfield Township Zoning Hearing Board. Julia, do you want to give us a quick 30 seconds on how to back?
Sure. During our reorganizational meeting, you motioned to appoint these people, and it needs to be done by resolution, so there is a resolution in front of you as such.
Perfect. All right, any discussion on said resolution?
Don't we have to know the names of the people we're appointing here?
It's the same people that you motioned to appoint. At this point,
Right.
you will be motioning to adopt resolution 462.
Right, and that's Lucas Fuller, Guy Miller, and,
Mr.
John Moore.
Moore. Yes.
That's right, okay. Do I hear a motion that we adopt resolution number 462?
I'll motion.
Motioned by Mr. Barrett. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, similar situation as affirming the appointment to the zoning hearing board. We also have to appoint our independent auditor for fiscal year 2020 by resolution. So this affirms that appointment of Kirk Suma. Do I hear a motion that we adopt resolution number 463?
I'll motion.
Motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, resolution number 464, that is tax collectors' compensation. This is something that has to be done by February 15th of the year in which the tax collector is elected, and that deadline ensures that the compensation changes affect the next term, whomever is elected on November 4th, I think, is election day this year. I'm not certain, but that's the process for that. It was the details of which were provided to us by our incumbent tax collector, Ms. Sharon J. Gerbich, and the changes are quite minor and I believe follow the same pattern established in 2017 by this board. Is there any discussion on resolution number 464?
Actually, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, excellent. Next is consider requesting the Planning Commission reviews for the draft ordinance reducing our zoning hearing board membership from 5 to 3. Julia, I believe you drafted that and then Ron reviewed it. Is there any discussion from my colleagues on this one?
I've got a colleague, I'm simply an appointed official, but, Mr. Chair, is this basically saying that you're requesting the planning commission to review that draft ordinance?
Correct.
Understood now, okay.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move that we request those reviews. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next, consider requesting planning commission reviews for Smithfield Gateway's land development application and the draft parking ordinance. Currently, we already have the review from the Monroe County Planning Commission in regard to that ordinance. It is the shortest one we have received to date, and that one is extending the no parking zone on 209 for safety. I understand Ron and John, you both have taken a look at that ordinance.
I have, but now we need to determine whether you're in a position now to want to advertise this.
Right.
Because it has to be, it's a zoning change as far as I know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not a zoning, it's standalone? Oh,
Right.
even better then, okay.
Yeah, that'll be K when we consider authorizing the advertising for that one. Next time I draft this agenda with Lois, I will check the order, because this one quickly grew upon us.
This is chapter 15 that's entitled motor vehicles. It does not fall under the zoning chapter.
Yeah, I remember it coming across my desk, so I thought it was part of zoning, but that's okay. Makes it easier.
Excellent. Okay, do I hear a motion requesting that the planning commissions review both of those items in time for their February 11th meeting?
I'll motion.
Okay, most of my colleagues made the motion, so I will second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay, next, Robert, I understand you have information regarding Broadhead Watershed Association's request for the river sojourn at Menacing Park.
Yes, I've forgotten the exact date. I think it's a Wednesday in June. And what they're requesting is to stage the arrival of people there that will then be transported on some sort of boat, dock the boat, gravel boat, of Broadhead Creek, which becomes such a favorite spot for picnickers in the summer. I don't see much impact this will cause, especially on weekends.
They're well organized too, Robert, as you know. They'll stage early, put the boats in, and then they're off and gone.
They were planning to do this last year, but there was no sojourn last year.
Right, Brian and I met with Bob Heil before everything changed.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, from the email that we have from back in, well, I guess a couple weeks ago, Wednesday, June 23rd, and they'd be there about 9:15 in the morning.
Right.
So, do I hear a motion on this matter?
A motion, yes, sure, approve it.
Okay. Robert makes a motion. Mr. Barrett, will you second the motion?
Yep, second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item is discussing and acting, raising the ESSA payroll ACH limit to $23,000. This is currently something that we've come to need to address due to the fact that overtime in the winter increases our need to have more money flowing from our general fund to the payroll fund, which I suppose is a pass-through in order for Payrolls Unlimited to process our payroll. We have a letter here that was drafted by Julia and sent to us sometime in the last few weeks to that effect. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, seeing none, I move we raise the ESSA payroll ACH limit to $23,000 and sign the letter. Do I hear a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is discussing and acting the dirt sculpt estimate for repairing River's Edge Bike Park. Robert, I know that we had met with, that gentleman sometime, I think, in April last year.
Dave King. And you gave us an estimate to, repair the damage there, remediate, I guess, the sewer the drainage problems, and to blacktop the top of it like that he has done in Port Service for a similar park. And the estimate, I think, was about $9,500, something like that. I would suggest what we do is, not only approve it, but add $1,000 to it, for, the purchase of the portable bicycle repair station. It's, splitting this with Middle Smithfield. They've already said they split, I think it was over 10,000, so they know they're in for $5. If they're in for $550, it won't make much difference.
Agreed. Yep.
Okay, do I hear a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
They were proving up to 11,000.
Okay, all right. Motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, and we talk about Smithfield Gateway. We have resolution number 465. Before we consider adopting that, Doug and Jim, would you like to talk about everything, all the fun that we're going to be doing here tonight?
Yeah, I'll let Jim take the lead on that, but I just do want to mention the fact that we do have our legal counsel, Mark Wolf, with us in attendance here soon. So if there are any legal questions that should come up, Mark is available to be able to answer those.
Excellent.
Been a long road. Agreements that we made with Mr. Kirkwood late fall of 2014. It's been 6 years. We own all the ground. And we've never been involved in a project with many moving pieces. But we managed to bring them together. Obviously, we had a setback. Supermarket a few years ago, but at the end of the day, we think that this will wind up being one of the other projects. There are three main phases that are driving the project, and that is phase 1A, which is going to be anchored with a 40,000 square foot St. Luke's MOB building. Bringing a lot of new employees to the area. Beautiful building, paying taxes. And then 1A will also have 4 other pads. The phase 1B will be a project that actually, when we first showed up many years ago, the Planning Commission basically tried to force us to do, because the mixed-use project. We had our mind set on a large market, but today, as we move forward with phase 1B, we'll be developing a mixed-use project in a live, work, play environment, family apartments and specialty retail. And then the third phase, is driving. These are all projects that are driving the TIF that we were able to put together. But the third phase is what we call phase 2A, which is approximately 200 age-restricted housing units that sit up on the hill. We have lots of other ground, lots of other phases, but this is what's driving the project right now. The main thing that's going on right now, we're really proud of it, is the road work. We have commenced doing the storm drainage on the eastern side of our lands, on what is known as the Chelsea property. Get a chance to go back there just to see the size of those pipes and the depth which they're going in the ground. It's just breathtaking. But So that is underway. We have a contract signed with the Northeast contractors to do the road work. And then also, we'll be doing the site work on phase 1A to accommodate St. Louis. So, we're really proud to be here, but we're under a lot of pressure to get this in the ground because of some obligations that St. Luke's has on their current facilities in East Stroudsburg. We've got to get our HOP permit. The whole wheels are turning quickly to that, and I think a lot of what Doug is going to be presenting is the need to get those squared away so that we can move forward. We're in front of the Planning Commission next week, talking about the project. We've filed for DEP, which of course we already have approvals from our previous plan. We expect those approvals sometime within the next month or two. But HOP, PennDOT is always the challenging one, and our engineers are excellent. We made a lot of progress. So our goal is to move forward. I'm blessed to have the gentleman next to me because this is a lot of work, I'll tell you. And we're bringing it together, and it's going to be a project that everyone is going to be really proud of, and it will be the gateway. It will be the gateway, and just like in Martinsville, others will follow, other commercial developments, and our piece will follow. And I think that what this will truly be the gateway into the 209 business corridor that has been talked about for 25 years. So with that, I'll turn it back to Doug.
Okay, all the documents that we're looking for signatures are related to the highway occupancy permit. I should say permits. Over the last year or so, everything has been flowing through and being reviewed by PennDOT just under a general HOP application, DEPG Mosier's name. But now that we're getting close to the finish line, it's time to transfer that over to the individual organizations that would actually have the HOPs. Two other examples are the Sewer Authority and BCRA. They've signed their forms, and so that's already in front of PennDOT for the review of those particular pieces of it. And that will continue on until the final permits are issued. And related to that, there's also, and that's the subject of 8I on your agenda, to help pay for the improvements on the first phase of the 209 improvements. We were successful in getting a grant, a little over $2 million to help defray the cost of those expenses. And as part of that, there is a piece of paper that has to be signed that when the sponsor is not a municipality. In this case, it's Pocono Mountain Industries, which is Chuck Leonard's office. Money actually comes to them. In this case, since it's going through their bidding process, they give us the money and then they take it back to do the work, and then we have to come up with a differential. This form that's being signed basically states that if and when you accept the highway improvements, any specifically as it relates to things that are under just your HOPs, the township will accept the responsibility for that process. And it also requires a resolution so that the state agency knows that whoever does sign it on behalf of the township, there's a resolution that shows that all of the township supervisors were aware of what was going on. So that's the first item that's addressed there. It's a corollary to that, which kind of ties into some of the other items on the agenda. We've got a separate document, letter to amend, document that was approved back in November 30th of 2018, where we basically state that, yes, a lot of these HOPs are going to be in the township name, specifically a traffic signal, sidewalks, a large pipe underneath 209, some of the other parallel drainage piping systems, and then there's work that's being done on 3 of the township road intersections that the sidewalks, the drainage, and the traffic signals, ultimately, the maintenance of those would be covered underneath the developer's agreements, where the cost associated with that will fall on the developer. Contracts may still be with the township, but for an example, I'm very familiar with the traffic signal that we helped install in the Bartonsville area to feed where the Chick-fil-A project is in St. Luke's. We entered into a similar agreement as far as we defray the expenses there, which we do share with St. Luke's. The township has their normal, maintenance agreements that they have with the companies that specialize in that. And that once a year, when that payment comes due, a bill is sent to the developer to pay that. So a similar thing would be done. And then as far as the sidewalks and the drainage systems are concerned, sidewalks, we would just maintain those. The drainage systems, same way, if there's anything that's cleaned out with respect to that, we would reimburse the township for that. In a lot of cases, we just would take care of that. So the purpose of the first couple of documents to sign is, number 1, a resolution that is authorizing, which assuming is going to be Jacob as the chair, to sign the document that goes in with the reimbursement agreement with the township. For the grant. Did I get that right, Mark?
Yes, you can, when you read the reimbursement agreement, and the draft resolution quotes the language in the reimbursement agreement pertaining to the township's execution of that agreement, but for limited purposes, and those purposes were outlined by Doug in his presentation.
And it should also be noted in those documents that Jacob would be signing that any financial obligations are on here is just for the obligations related to the HOPs. So all of the other stuff that's taking place would not be a township responsibility.
Right, and that can be clarified in the development agreement.
Yes.
This is Ron talking, Mark. I'm not sure if you or if Doug can answer this question, but can you give me a list of what the township is going to be responsible for and what the developer is going to be responsible for? By way of sidewalks, drains, pipes, streets, etc. So that I have my program here in front of me, so to speak.
Let's take the sidewalk first. That's going to be the easiest one. Developer will be maintaining those sidewalks on a full-time basis.
Okay. Ron, let me add to that is most likely going to be, that obligation would be assigned to the condo association.
Right, when I use the term developer here, as part of I'm assuming that the developer's agreement will take into account that there will ultimately be a condominium association that would assume those financial responsibilities to the satisfaction of the township.
The agreement that was done back in November of 2018, I think refers to that too, that a homeowners association or property owners association may be formed to take over the obligations. I just want to make a column list here, a T account. Yep. These are what the township is going to be responsible for. This is what the developer and or HOA are responsible for. So that way then my supervisors tonight know exactly what they are agreeing to.
So that takes care of the sidewalks. The next one would be the traffic signals. We're installing a new traffic signal, at our expense. Once the township enters into a maintenance agreement, to handle the traffic signal, just as I mentioned before in the Stroud Township example, whenever you get invoices from the maintenance company, that they would be sent to the developer and/or the condominium association. But for this discussion tonight, I'm just going to mention developer, knowing that it could be transferred to somebody else to maintain that.
Ron, and that's likely that that obligation will be a common expense.
Okay, I'm just writing them down as we go along here, that's all.
The other two are related to drainage. One is the large cross drainage pipe that'll be in the name of the township. I'm guessing that on an occasional basis that should be inspected to make sure, everything is in proper working order. Since that will be in the name of the township, the developer's agreement should probably address some sort of way to how often that may or may not have to be inspected, because it's going to be a pipe that's buried about 40 feet deep. It's 6 foot in diameter, so it's going to require special people to be able to actually do that inspection, and OSHA will have all sorts of regulations just to be able to do an inspection of that pipe to make sure that it doesn't need any repairs.
All right, so we're talking about inspecting it. Who's going to be responsible for that pipe? In case it needs repair?
It would ultimately, I think, be the condo association, at least the developer share of that.
But it'll be in the, Ron, it'll be in the name of the township. We're talking about that cross, be in the name of the township. So, I'd say to come to an agreement, let's say once every 10 years, you have to inspect that pipe, and that somebody, would work with the township in order to do that. Because the contract, since it's owned by the township may enter into the contract, but similar as the other stuff is concerned, we would be party to that because we would be paying the bill.
Doug, Brian Barrett, when you actually begin the installation of this very large pipe and going under 209, we would like to have our engineering firm involved in that on-site observance, especially now if you're saying that you feel that the improvements and maintenance of that pipe is basically could be laid on the township. Is that correct?
That large cross pipe from manhole to manhole on either side of 209 would be in the name of the township.
We understand that, but we also, what you're saying is because it's in the name of the township, ergo, we're responsible for the upkeep of it, the operation of it, and the maintenance of it, and the repair of it. Is that correct? And that could be a fortune.
But, Brian, I had mentioned that in the developer's agreement, if it had to be replaced, yes, it would be a fortune, but... well, even repaired, God forbid, if there was some kind of something that happened, you know what I mean? 40 feet deep, Doug, is, good Christ, number one finding it. I don't know, that's asking a lot of the township. That's why the developer's agreement will address the fact that, yes, it's in the township's name, but the responsibility for the costs associated with the maintenance, operation, and repair, replacement, all those things the attorneys like to use, that would fall.
Would what? I'm sorry?
That would fall on the developer.
Okay, and well, as long as that's explicit. The agreement of 2018 and number 2, that has totally changed. the language is nowhere near what it was in that time. So is this something that it's going to supersede that agreement in 2018 that we both entered into?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, what we're talking about here will supersede that agreement. At that time, the specifics were not yet fleshed out. Now we do have the specifics with respect to the various types of HOPs, if you will, and I still want to get through that entire list before we move off this subject. But now that we know what's what, now we have to fish or cut bait as to some of these issues. For example, the street intersections. There's no way we can expect the applicant to maintain street intersections. That's traditionally been a township responsibility to maintain its roads, et cetera. Of course, after the 18-month maintenance period. You know, once the roads or intersections are installed, there's an 18-month maintenance period, and assuming they are built to township specifications, the township will generally accept a dedication of those intersections, and then the township will be responsible. So the intersections, I understand. I just want to make sure about, again, sidewalks, traffic signals, this large pipe, and I think there's some other piping that I want Doug to address for me.
Those are primarily parallel to the road systems that are clearly designed to handle stormwater from the project, as opposed to, you know, like a typical cross pipe that PennDOT would still own. And the exhibits we provided shows which ones that PennDOT has said that would be in the township's name. And again, there may be, whether the township road crews go and look at that and there's some sort of maintenance agreement, or if they have an outside entity that is hired to do that. Again, the cost structure and how that is handled would be addressed in a developer's agreement, where the developer would be taking the cost for those systems. So there's no cost that will ultimately be, for those systems as shown on the exhibit that is attached to the M950AA form. There is no cost that will be borne by the township.
And just so we're clear, and it's not meant to put a damper on what Mr. Olmsted is saying, but that's assuming that we have agreements with companies and or homeowners associations and or developers that are solvent. If they become insolvent, your guys are going to be on the hook, no matter what the agreements say. So keep that in mind.
Meaning the township?
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that can happen in any situation, so I'm not trying to put it
down. No.
I want you to be aware that, we've already dealt with a development just this past year where we had a litigation because the property owners association was, if not defunct, almost insolvent, and we had to come up with some money to solve that case. So. And,
that wasn't a pleasant experience. Okay, so I'm just looking at the agreement again of 2018. It's totally turned it around. The developer says that they agreed to be solely responsible for and to pay for the installation, construction, use, operation, maintenance, repair, replacement of the aforementioned HOP improvements in perpetuity. Now, that's out the window.
No.
Pardon me?
It's really not out the window, because the new letter states the aforesaid major stormwater pipe, sidewalk, project-related stormwater systems HOP shall be issued in the name of the township, but it would be maintained by the developer with maintenance obligations to be set forth in the developer's agreement.
Okay, fine, all right.
So we're not making any changes. The only change that was added was the paragraph 3, because that addresses the intersection of the township roads, which are part of the HOP, but as Ron mentioned, after the maintenance period was over, that would revert to the township to maintain that.
That's understood, Doug. And of course, a couple of those at Music Center and Islandburger, they really are influenced by a state road, and that would be the Route 209, Seven Bridge Road.
Yeah, there's really,
so PennDOT would be involved in that also.
Yeah, there's minor adjustments to Hillside Road or Drive, whichever one it is. Islandburger is going to be changed to a one-way going into Islandburger.
Yep, we're aware of that. And then there's going to be a pork chop at Music Center Drive, I believe.
That is correct. So that'll be a right-in, right-out situation. And then for people on Music Center that want to make a left-hand turn, what they will be doing will be using the roads that will ultimately become township roads within the project to get access to the traffic signal so that they can go north on 209.
Right, I totally understand and agree with that. Just have to sync that to make sure that everything happens at the same time. So the people on Music Center will be able to take advantage of the light to take a left-hand turn.
So obviously that work has to be done first before the improvements are done to the intersection of Music Center and 209.
Okay. All right, Doug. Thank you.
And you should know, Brian, that the supplemental letter, as I'll call it, has been reviewed by both Mr. Tressler and myself, that I am okay with it, and I agree with how number 2 was explained by Mr. Olmsted, and they've also added at our request a provision that John wanted, that there would be no construction to begin until the final plan is approved, the agreement's in place, security posted, etc. So that's about the best we can do, I think, short of having them say, well, you've got to do everything, which I'm not quite sure if that's realistic.
Amen. And again, the only thing that concerns me is that stormwater pipe, the size of it, the depth of it, the width of it. Holy God Almighty! And that runs right down to the creek, doesn't it, Doug?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, they're in there working now. Northeast is doing a good job. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to hope that I'm gone before that blows.
No. It's like, with our luck, who knows? But that's why I want to have our engineer on that site as an observer. And I know at one of the meetings, Doug, you preferred not to have them, but we have a vested interest in this, and I think we should have at least someone other than the third party that we're not even familiar with put our fate in their hands, is what I'm saying. So I think we've got to make that part of the developers agreement.
I guess just also so that you understand, that pipe that is going to be underneath 209 is required to have a 100-year design life. So.
Yep. There's no doubt in my mind, Doug. At least 100 years. It's like the 300-year floods we had in 2 years. You know. Anyway,
I'm not talking about the amount of water. It's talking about the pipe is going to be designed to last 100 years.
I understand that. I
think that pipe underneath 209, I think it's going to be 1-inch thick steel pipe. That'll be
and that's good. I just say I would like Smithfield Township to have representation as this process takes place.
So the first item would be, I don't know what order you want to do these, Ron, but the first.
You have a question on the? No, my only question, I looked at everything. I finally made some time to do it. I appreciate your patience, because I'm sure that you were saying, like, what the heck is Terrasat doing? But just a little too much on my plate, but I wanted to get it all done for tonight. So I looked at it. I'm okay with it as long as the supervisors understand that agreement in 2018, we are coming back from it a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. So I don't want someone to later say, gee, I thought they were responsible for everything, and that's why I wanted this discussion tonight. Right. So other than that, I've looked at everything, and it's okay with me.
I
All
think
right,
we've explored it.
Yeah, with that said, do I hear a motion on resolution number 465?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Levenheim, do I hear a second? I'll second the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Now,
Motion carries.
it is, if I could interject, it is hoped that I'm gonna be able to take signed documents with me this evening. And that being said, the secretary certification, if Jacob is gonna be signing, the form, can that be changed to let's say have Robert sign that instead? Is he vice chair?
Yeah, Robert's vice chair.
I don't know, is that something that is allowable, Ron?
It's allowable, but really the secretary is the one that's supposed to say, like, I'm the secretary that takes care of all the written documents, and I say that this was properly signed by Jacob as president. So, I mean, it can be done, but I'm concerned that if you maybe ship that to someone, whether it's the state or the multimodal place or whatever, it'll say, oh, no, this had to be signed by the secretary and they'll take it back.
I guess the question is, when would the esteemed secretary be able to, do you have the ability to sign that at your house, Brian?
Ron, I could say, is this Doug? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
Doug, I can sign that, I can sign it at midnight tonight if you like.
Okay, and then scan it and send it, you could send it by email to us.
Well, why don't you it'll be at the township?
Yes.
Okay, I'll be in tomorrow morning and I'll sign it.
Yeah.
Come in tomorrow.
Yeah, and you can come in tomorrow, Doug. I mean, the other documents, we have the ability to scan and copy them, and then you can take the original to tonight. But that one in particular, we would have to, you can come in tomorrow.
Okay, all right, that's fine, that takes care of that.
Okay.
So, and the other one is, I have, 2 copies of that letter that was the amendment to the agreement of November, 2018. So I've got 2 copies of the letter that have been signed by Jim.
Now, is this the one you just gave me tonight, or is that the other one?
This is the one as you approved it. I don't know if you wanted to go through that or just back that.
No, let me just see what you have there to make sure that, I know which one there, that's all.
There's actually 2 copies.
And Doug, is this getting into the next item, the HOP condition statement?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, so that would be,
That letter amends the November 2018 agreement.
Right.
so you need a motion to do that, and then these documents can be signed. And I will, I've got 2 copies here, so that you could sign those, and, I can leave one and take one.
Okay, so on the agenda, it says authorize chairman to sign HOP condition statement, PennDOT forms M950AA for those, NTE 162, and memorandum of understanding. Is that covered, or do you need me to add something to be able to sign the other documents, just so we don't have any issues with,
I think we want to, H covers all of the PennDOT documents.
Mhm.
But in order to sign those documents, you probably have, or actually J is, signing all the PennDOT documents.
Right.
Added to that, item should be the approval of the amendment to the 2018 agreement. That would take place first, and that would allow you, Jacob, to sign these forms.
So would a comprehensive motion with all that included be satisfactory? Okay. Ron?
As long as you sign them, that's really what they need.
Right.
They
Okay.
need signed documents.
All right, so I'll move that we authorize the chair to sign the HOP condition statement, PennDOT forms M950AA, 4 of them, and TE 160, 2 of those, memorandum of understanding, and the approval of the amended 2018 agreement. Do I hear a second?
So what's the memorandum?
Seconded by Mr. Levenheim.
This letter.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, Brian, do we have a vote from you?
Yeah, just one concern, and Ron, you feel with the developers agreement, we'll be able to put ourselves in a position where we won't lose all of that amendment of 2018, or it'll be minimal. Do you feel that, and ergo, you recommend that we do sign off on this?
You're asking me? Yeah, I'm okay with it based upon how the documents are written. I mean, obviously, let's assume that we come to loggerheads for some reason and we can't agree to an item. Then we don't sign it, and hello, Judge Zulich. Okay, what else can I tell you? But from what I'm seeing and from what I'm being told here through the listing that we went through, I'm okay with it, and I believe John is too.
Right, as per John's email, correct.
Okay, so Jacob, did you second that?
Yeah,
All
all in favor?
Yeah, Jacob Pride motion, Robert Levenheim seconded.
We voted, we're just waiting for your vote.
Oh, aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Okay, next item is the final item in the Gateway series, is authorizing the advertisements for the public hearing of the draft parking ordinance that the Monroe County Planning Commission already reviewed favorably. And I would move that we schedule that public hearing for the February 23rd Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Do I hear a second?
Do you need a motion, Jacob, on that?
Oh, yeah, I was asking for a second.
Second.
Oh, okay.
Second by Mr. Levenheim, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ron, I have,
Who made the motion?
Oh, I did, Robert seconded, and then we both voted aye, so now we just need your vote.
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries
the
unanimously.
land development plan that was submitted, you do not need a public hearing for that.
I don't think you, see, it
It's the
depends
final plan, we
It
already have
depends.
approval, so.
Yeah, I mean, you need to have, I think, another meeting before supervisor.
Oh, yeah, no, we understand, I just didn't know, I wanted to
I
make
don't
sure
think
that.
we do, I mean, unless John is telling me that the changes of the Phase 1A are so much different than what was initially proposed.
No, because.
You know, so if there were like major changes, well, then we might need something.
Yeah, actually, if you put the plans side by side, the only thing that's really changed is the location of the buildings. But the main road spine network hasn't changed at all, so it's.
So I rely upon the municipal engineer. If he or she tells me it's not a big change, fine with me.
I just don't wanna be in a position. All we gotta do.
I think we're okay, and this will be before the planning commission.
The
final.
11.
The 11th.
The 11th, so we can then readdress it then to make sure that there's nothing that we're missing.
Okay.
Okay.
If that's scheduled, I have nothing else as far as Smithfield Gateway.
Excellent, so.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Go
Thank
with God.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night.
Peter, how are you feeling, by the way? You doing okay?
Thank you.
This stuff is all important, don't get me wrong, but it's just as important, if not more so, that we're all healthy, so.
Since I have to come back tomorrow morning to pick up the document after Brian, instead of sitting here and making you sign all those documents right now,
Tomorrow,
we'll
another
leave
day.
them all. I have 2 copies of everything here that I can leave with you,
Sure.
and you can sign, those documents. And then I will come here tomorrow sometime between 11 and 12 o'clock to pick up the documents.
Brian, does that work for you to get in before that time?
It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I think I can do it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dougie. Hey, Doug.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Depending on your schedule, let's just say I'll be over there at 10, sign it off, so it'll be at any time after 10.
I'll plan on being here at 11 o'clock unless.
Okay. You got it.
Sounds great.
So I will leave these documents with you. What you've got here is actually 2 copies of everything.
Okay.
So you can, that way you can, sign them all. You can keep one original for yourself, and then I will have one original for us.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One step closer.
That's right.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Take care.
Thank you very much for coming, Mark.
Stay safe.
Much appreciated.
Yep. Take care.
Mark, thank you very much.
Anytime.
We'll see you again soon.
Sounds great. Be safe, be healthy, and, you know, safe trip home.
See you on the 11th.
We're here next week, right?
I don't think the planning commission is next
Oh,
week.
Thursday. Second Thursday. They meet second Thursday. So it'll be the week from Thursday.
Yeah, they pushed it to the 11th for order.
2 weeks
So
from
we'll handle the land development plan and the ordinance at the same time.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I think there's more on the agenda to go.
Yes, indeed.
All right, take care now. Have a safe trip home.
Thank you. Okay, next one is, L, considering the appointment of Terry Timko to the Sewer Authority. We received an email from her on, January 11th. Well, I don't think it was on that date, but it's dated January 11th, expressing her interest in becoming a member. I think we all had a chance to take a look at that. And then also involved in this packet, and I forwarded via email, was the section of the Municipal Authorities Act under quorum, which presented the portion that allows someone that already works for the authority to be on the board, just like their chair, Russ Albert, is. And that was provided to us by the Sewer Authority solicitor, Dan Corvallin.
And now that board will have 4 members.
Right, which is great. Good. Because they can finally have a quorum if somebody, is absent or something. So, do I hear any other discussion, or do we want to proceed to a motion?
I'll motion that we appoint Terry.
Second. Seconded by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is bills.
I have one more item.
Oh, okay. Go ahead then.
It's M. I'd like the board to authorize me to write and sign a support letter for 1% for nature to apply Broadhead Water to apply for 1% for nature grant for signage in Minisink Park. The grant they'll apply for is $2,500. We would need to put half in kind, and that would be repairing the kiosks, taking off the glass, and mounting new signs that will be like the signs we put in Mount Nebo Park.
Robert, did you want to add the air and bike repair also?
No, we already did that, Brian, because in the authorization for Dirtscape to redo the bike park, we put in an extra $1,000 to be shared, of course, with Middle Smithfield. That'll well cover the cost of the little bike repair.
Okay, all right.
Okay, do I hear a motion on the letter of support for the Broadhead Watershed application?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, made by Mr. Barrett. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Levenheim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and next is bills. So we have 2 bill packs here. One is the ratification of the January 13th, 2021 bills. That totals $64,595.48. And then the second bill pack is paying the January 26th, 2021 payment, which, the total was not put on there for today, but, let me look at the other document. Okay. That has, $70,675, $92 for the general fund and $12,879.02 for the highway fund.
I'll make a motion that we ratify the bills in the amount of $64,595.48 for payment.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, payment of today's bills. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I'm sorry, what?
For the payment of today's bills, do I hear a,
I'll make that motion.
made by Mr. Levenheim. Is there a second?
Yep, I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we close the meeting, Jacob, I just found a note here from Lois about approving the Dirtscape invoice for $9,250. As we've already said, we can approve the invoice, but expenses up to $11,000.
Right.
Which will include the bike repair station.
Well, that was covered in the initial authorization earlier.
All right.
So that's fine. Do we have there's no members of the public on with us, and there's nobody in our building to make any public comments. So with that, I'd like to adjourn this meeting, but immediately thereafter, I'd like to enter executive session. I know Ron had mentioned an email to us, something in regard to the 228 Independence Road zoning building permit applications for the 5G antennas. I don't know, Ron, if you still wanted to.
Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay. Well, I'll
What was it again?
that's the cell towers, the 5G towers that we've been talking about. So I'm going to move that we adjourn this meeting at 8:46. Do I hear a second?
Second. What's that address again?
That is 228 Independence Road and 1 3 Point Garden. Okay. All in favor of the motion? Yeah, hold on one second. All in favor of the motion to adjourn the meeting?
Aye.
Okay. And if you give me one moment, I'm going to make sure that no one else is on the call with us, and then we can have that executive session still on here.